Alright, so I just got this backhoe, and it's a Case 580E. I'm not sure of the year model on it, but this is actually my first time running it. On this property I have several trees that I'm having to cut down and dig up the stumps as well. Most of the trees that I'm going to be cutting down are around the house, so that's the main reason that they have to go, but also to get something growing on the ground instead of just pine needles everywhere. But this video is mainly just me getting used to the controls on the backhoe, getting a feel for it, seeing what needs addressed, what needs fixed, because when I bought this machine, I didn't even operate it myself. I just let someone else run it. I was primarily focused on just seeing like what was like obviously damaged or obviously worn out, cracks, welds, repairs, things like that. But it's really hard to really make notice of something like that when you're not the one using it. But in this video, in this one stump that I dug up, I definitely learned a lot about this machine and what all needs to be fixed on it, such as the throttle linkages. The hand throttle and foot throttle like to stick together and not return to idle for either of them. The pins on the backhoe swing tower are very worn out. The backhoe frame, where it mounts to the tractor frame, is very loose. And there's a couple of cylinders leaking, but not bad. I think one of them's actually a hose in the vicinity of the cylinder. That's one of the swing cylinders. A lot of the pins need the C-clips to hold them in. A couple grease zerks are missing. But you know, like I said, this is just getting to know the machine and what all needs to be done, because you know I'm going to have at least 50 to 100 hours of work to do on this with this machine. So just trying to get to know it a little bit. One thing with this bucket is I thought like off the bat that I would really need one with teeth on it, but as I've come to find out, this thing is a lot stronger than I thought it was, and it has no issue digging down into the ground. Of course, this is just a very light layer of topsoil and some red clay underneath. There's almost no gravel in this area. So I may be eating those words later, but at least in these soil conditions, it does extremely well. Even in roots, it breaks through them with no problem. And this is a cedar tree as well, so these roots are a little bit tougher than others. But you know, as you'll see and hear, it doesn't struggle one bit. This stump actually took roughly 40 minutes to dig up. I'd say 10 of those minutes was just looking at it and thinking about the best angle to go from or where to dig next. But a lot of time was spent just learning the machine, learning the controls, and plus repositioning it, moving the machine around, setting up and whatnot. And here you can see it picks up the stump and the root ball with no problem. It's too heavy to control the machine with. You can see the front wheels and the bucket's completely off the ground, and it's dragging the backhoe on the ground as it's moving. But You know, if I had to guess, that stump is probably somewhere around 2,000 pounds, maybe even 3,000. It's really heavy with all that wet clay on there. To be honest, I shouldn't have even tried to move it like this, because it's a downhill driveway right there, and only my right side brakes work, so that could have got out of control, especially being very inexperienced with it. See that leak on one of the swing cylinders there. I think it's coming from a hose above it where it mounts to the control valve. It likes to just drip right down on the bottom of the backhoe frame. And you can see the washers and C-clips on these pins are missing. There's a cotter pin in the upper cylinder pin. Those are all wrong. There's a hose clamp in one of the bucket pins as well. A lot of little odds and ends.
That stump is so big even compared to you.